I want you to try and imagine a butterfly effect.
Yeah.
Right. But mapped across the absolute heaviest infrastructure on the planet.
Oh, yeah. The really tangible stuff.
Exactly. I want you to picture the sheer mechanics of this. How does a breakdown in diplomatic talks, like just people sitting in a quiet room in Switzerland on a Thursday, how does that directly and mathematically dictate a massive spike in the cost of manufacturing the microchips inside your smartphone in East Asia by, like, the very next Tuesday?
Right. It really forces you to realize that the global economy isn't just, a series of isolated events.
No, not at all.
It's a physical machine. I mean, a meeting in Europe and a highly sterile factory in Taiwan, they seem like totally different universes.
Yeah.
But they are connected by this very tangible, highly fragile chain of energy and geography. And when one link in that chain snaps, the tension just rips through the entire system instantly.
Yeah, we are tracing that snap thread today. Welcome to the deep dive. Our mission today is to unpack a massive stack of highly sensitive geopolitical, military, and financial briefings from March 2026.
Yeah, these are the documents detailing the sudden eruption of the U.S.-Iran conflict.
Exactly. And before we get into it, I need to make something crystal clear for everyone listening. The sources today contain highly charged political and military events involving the U.S., Israel, and Iran.
Right.
We are not taking any sides, nor are we endorsing any of the viewpoints, military actions, or political positions of the nations involved. Our sole mission is to impartially report the facts and ideas contained in the source material, just to help you understand the global ripple effects.
Yeah, the goal here is to look at the how and the why under the hood. I mean, the briefings we're analyzing, they don't just cover the military strikes.
No, they go way deeper.
Right. They track the physical and economic shockwaves from the very moment the first munition was dropped all the way into, like, the servers powering global artificial intelligence.
Which is wild. So to understand those shockwaves, I think we have to start with the sheer scale of the catalyst. The event is labeled Operation Roaring Lion. And just reading the timeline of these briefings, the speed of the escalation is staggering.
Oh, it's unprecedented.
Right. So, February 26th, 2026. The third round of nuclear talks in Geneva completely collapses. The diplomatic route is officially declared dead.
And then the clock starts.
Yeah. Just 48 hours later, February 28th, the U.S. and Israel launch a massive, coordinated air campaign.
Yeah.
It's like an avalanche, like there's a long history of ongoing tension building up the snow. But the actual drop going from talking in Geneva to a massive airstrike happens in the blink of an eye.
Totally.
So my question is, why jump straight to such an overwhelming display of force on day one?
Usually you see a gradual escalation, like signaling intent.
Right. Well, the strategic calculus shifted basically instantly from containment to decapitation.
Decapitation.
Yeah. The military doctrine here was based on the premise that, a gradual escalation just gives the adversary time to disperse their assets.
Oh, I see. Hide the important stuff. Exactly. Hide assets, harden their defenses, boot up a coordinated retaliation. The coalition absolutely did not want a tit-for-tat exchange.
Right.
The whole objective of Operation Roaring Lion was to fundamentally degrade Iran's command and control infrastructure before any coordinated defense could even, get off the ground.
The logistics of doing that in a single day are just, I have a hard time wrapping my head around it. The briefing state they dropped over 1,200 precision-guided munitions on day one alone.
Yeah, over 1,200.
Utilizing over 200 fighter jets, including the F-35I stealth fighters. And they targeted roughly 30 strategic sites across the country.
It's a massive deployment.
How do you even coordinate 200 jets in hostile airspace simultaneously?
Well, it requires just an absolute masterclass in synchronization. I mean, you aren't just flying planes, you're essentially managing this layered ecosystem in the sky.
An ecosystem, what does that look like?
So first you have the electronic warfare aircraft.
Okay.
Their sole job is to flood Iranian radar and anti-aircraft systems with white noise. They're basically blinding the defense grid.
Wow. Then you have the mid-air refueling tankers loitering at the edges of the airspace. Because, fighters carrying heavy payloads burn through fuel incredibly fast.
Right. They can't just fly around all day.
Exactly. And finally, you have the F-35Is themselves, and they are networking with each other in real time.
Oh, sharing data.
Yeah, sharing targeting data. So if one jet detects a surface-to-air missile battery, every single other jet in the formation instantly knows its exact coordinates.
That is terrifyingly efficient. And all of that orchestration was leading to one specific, highly consequential target.
Yeah, the primary target.
The coalition dropped 30 bunker buster bombs on the residence of Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei.
Mm-hmm.
I really want to understand the physics of that. Why does it take 30 bombs for one single location?
So a bunker buster isn't really designed to explode on impact like a normal bomb. It's essentially this massive dart made of hardened steel, and it's driven by extreme kinetic energy.
Oh. The fuse is delayed, so the bomb uses its sheer weight and speed to burrow through layers of earth and reinforced concrete
Before it actually goes off.
Right, before detonating in the hollow space below. But when a target is buried incredibly deep, one bomb just isn't enough. So they use a tactic called sequential striking.
Sequential striking.
Yeah.
Meaning one right after the other.
Exactly. The first bomb blows a crater in the surface. The second bomb flies exactly into that crater to dig deeper. The third goes deeper still.
Oh, wow.
You're essentially drilling a hole with high explosives. So using 30 of them on a single target is basically a mathematical guarantee of penetration.
Jeez. Well, the briefings confirm it worked. The supreme leader was killed in the strike. The official numbers from Iran reported 200 were dead, 747 injured, and they declared a 40-day national mourning period.
Yeah, the human cost was immediate and severe.
But the retaliation was nearly instantaneous, right? Like, within 24 hours, Iran launched Operation True Promise Force.
Yes.
Which was this massive ballistic missile barrage aimed at U.S. and allied facilities across the Persian Gulf.
Right, but the missile barrage was just the kinetic response, the one that creates the immediate smoke and debris on the news.
Right.
But the most dangerous weapon Iran deployed that week didn't involve explosives at all. The far more devastating move, at least from a global economic standpoint, was a geographic one.
Right. They announced the total blockade of the Strait of Hormuz.
Exactly.
Now, we constantly hear about the Strait of Hormuz in geopolitical news. But if you look at a map, it's this waterway connecting the Persian Gulf to the Indian Ocean.
Mm-hmm.
It's roughly 21 miles wide at its narrowest point.
Yeah, not very wide, but not exactly a river either.
Right. I mean, you can't just string a chain across a 21-mile body of water. So how does a nation actually enforce a blockade of that size against international shipping?
It really comes down to the mechanics of asymmetric naval warfare and, surprisingly, the economics of maritime insurance. Yeah. Iran doesn't need to physically line up ships shoulder to shoulder to block the strait. They utilize a combination of fast attack craft, sea mines dropped straight into the shipping lanes, and anti-ship cruise missiles positioned along that mountainous coastline.
Okay, so it's not a physical wall. It's more like a zone of guaranteed destruction.
Precisely. And the moment those anti-ship missiles are armed and the first mines hit the water, maritime insurance underwriters, people sitting in offices in places like London,
right,
they immediately declare the strait a war zone. And when that happens, the premiums to insure a commercial oil tanker just skyrocket.
To the point where it's not worth the trip.
Exactly. It becomes completely financially unviable to sail. So the shipping companies halt their fleets voluntarily. The blockade is enforced by the threat of violence, sure, but it's executed by the math of the insurance market.
That is fascinating. And the volume of trade that goes through that specific checkout lane, because that's really what it is. It's like a massive checkout lane for a quarter of the world's energy.
That's a great way to put it.
If that lane closes, the whole global supermarket just panics. The briefings detail that the Strait of Hormuz controls about 20% of the entire world's crude oil supply.
Right.
But more importantly, for the chain reaction we're tracking today, it controls 23% of global LNG liquefied natural gas.
And that's the real kicker.
Yeah. When you choke off a quarter of the world's energy supply, I have to imagine intelligence analysts are desperately trying to figure out how long Iran can actually keep that up.
Oh, absolutely.
Is blocking this strait actually sustainable for them, or is it just a short-term leverage play to scare the markets?
Well, it's an incredibly risky play for Iran. Because maintaining that blockade essentially invites the navies of the entire world nations whose economies are now literally starving for energy.
Right, everyone gets involved.
Exactly. It invites them to intervene. So intelligence analysts laid out 3 specific scenarios that weekend.
Okay, what were they?
The first was a local conflict. This means disruptive harassment in the strait, basically a loop of airstrikes and counterstrikes. But shipping eventually resumes under really heavy naval escort.
Okay, and the markets can usually adjust to that, right? They just price in the friction.
Yeah, exactly. But scenario 2 is continuous escalation. That's a blockade lasting over a month.
Wow.
At that point, global energy reserves actually begin to deplete. It's no longer just a speculative fear. Factories physically run out of fuel.
That's bad.
And then scenario 3 is the nightmare condition, full-scale war. In this scenario, analysts projected oil surging past $120 a barrel.
$120 a barrel. I mean, when energy gets that expensive, it's essentially a massive, unavoidable tax on every single industry on the planet.
Right, which risks triggering global stagflation.
Stagflation.
Yeah. That is this deeply toxic economic state where economic growth grinds to a halt, but the cost of living and manufacturing skyrockets at the exact same time. It is easily the hardest economic condition for central banks to cure.
And just the pure threat of scenario 3, that $120 a barrel stagflation, was enough to cause the algorithms on Wall Street to completely short-circuit over the weekend.
Oh, it was a bloodbath.
Because Operation Roaring Lion happened on a Saturday morning, Eastern Time. The financial markets were closed. They had all weekend to just stare at the news out of Hormuz, calculate the risk of a global energy crisis, and formulate a panic response.
Right. Everyone was just bracing for impact.
Yeah, and when the markets finally opened, the data in these briefings is just brutal.
The analysts call it Black Tuesday in the Asian markets.
Yeah.
South Korea's KOSPI index, which remember is heavily reliant on manufacturing and tech exports, it plummeted 7.24% in a single day.
7.24%. That's not a correction. That's a scramble for liquidity.